All right, so good morning, everybody. Quick video here to talk about the Royals and a roster move that they have just made. Today is, what is today? May 14th, May 13th, May 14th. It's Tuesday. Is it May 14th? It is May 14th. So yesterday, May 13th, the Royals, they called up Nicky Lopez, middle infielder, second baseman, shortstop from Omaha. They optioned relief pitcher Jake Newberry back to Omaha to make room on the 25-man roster. They're going to have to make another corresponding move because Nicky Lopez is not on the 40-man roster. So that move doesn't have to be made until today. Basically, what this means, if you're not familiar with this, if you're watching this video, you probably know about the 40-man roster rules. Essentially, you have two rosters. You have the 40-man roster, and then you have a 25-man active roster. Think of the 15 players that are not on the active roster, positions 26 through 40. It's kind of like your practice squad in football, but those guys are in the minor leagues, essentially. And you can call them up and down, and that sort of thing. So I'm not going to get into all the details of it. But just, you have to be on the 40-man roster to be on the active roster. So the Royals are going to have to make a move today to release someone off the 40-man roster, which means they have to go through the waiver process. They're what's called designated for assignment. More than likely, it's going to be Lucas Duda, who's already on the disabled list, or I'm sorry, the injured list. I want to be politically correct here. Which is fine. That's no big loss. Obviously, the Royals should never have signed Duda in the first place. But this video is not about Lucas Duda. It's about Nicky Lopez. It'll be interesting to see what the Royals do. I mean, presumably, he's going to be in the lineup tonight. And Dayton Moore has said that, Serene Petra on Sports Radio 810, he likes to talk about how general managers and managers, they don't lie, but sometimes they just don't tell everything they know. And I understand what he's saying there. And it's essentially what Dayton Moore did over the weekend. He flat out told everybody on Saturday that the Royals are not going to rush Nicky Lopez to the major leagues. And it's going to be a month or two or whatever until they call him up. And they turn around and call him up at the conclusion of Sunday night's game. Or they they were already in the process. They didn't decide on a whim yesterday. So this decision was made Sunday after the loss against the Phillies. So what changed from Saturday to Sunday? I mean, who knows? I mean, Ned and Dayton talk all the time about roster construction, about roster moves, and I've been very critical on this channel about Dayton Moore's roster construction. This makes it better now. Replacing Lopez, or taking Duda off the 40-man roster is good. You replace him with a player who's part of the future. You send down a pitcher and call up a batter, which I also like. I think the Royals have way too many pitchers in their bullpen that they don't use consistently enough. It's part of the reason why I think they struggle like they do, is because they don't get consistent pitching time. I'd always rather have 14 position players and 11 pitchers, but that's a whole nother discussion. So Nicky Lopez is up. Now it's up to Ned Yost to make sure that this lineup and the defensive placement of these players is fully maximized to win baseball games. Everybody seems to be talking about how this move is going to put Whit Merrifield in right field and push Jorge Soler to the DH, which I'm presuming this will happen, and while Billy Hamilton will continue to play center field. May I present a different hypothesis or a different possibility for the Royals to go? Now, while I think that's what the Royals will do, I don't think that's what they should do. Surprise, surprise. I don't like something that they're doing. Now, it's not that I don't like what they're doing, because we haven't seen what they're going to do yet. If you put Nicky Lopez in the lineup, you got to take somebody out of the lineup. So who do you take out of the lineup? All you're doing is moving Witt from second to right, so he's still in the lineup. All you're doing is moving Soler from right to DH. He's still in the lineup. Somebody has to be taken out of the lineup. Well, you're not taking out Mondesi. He's the starting shortstop. You're not taking out Maldonado, even though you probably should. He's the starting catcher. You're not taking out Gordon. He's the starting left fielder. Who are you taking out? You're not taking out Dozier. He's the starting third baseman. Are you taking out O'Hearn, who's starting to hit? But if you take out O'Hearn, who plays first? Does Dozier play first? And then Gutierrez play third? So this is my point. More than likely, Gutierrez or O'Hearn, two of your players that Gutierrez has hit very well since coming up for the minors, and O'Hearn has hit very well over the past 3 weeks. One of those two guys is going to be out of the lineup. So all this talk about making the lineup longer and providing more protection, it's not going to do that if they don't make the roster, or they don't make the lineup construction, to benefit from this move. So how do you keep all those guys in there? Well, they don't want Whit Merrifield to, overuse his legs. That's why they're putting him in right field. Witt can play any of the outfield positions. I would put Witt in left field and put Gordon in center. I think Gordon is an elite defender at any position. He actually likes playing center field better. It's easier to play center field than it is left field, especially for someone like Gordon. And he's been on record as saying he would rather play center field than left field. I think they'd rather have Hamilton out there. Hamilton hasn't been I haven't really noticed him do anything spectacular or above ordinary, honestly, in his time here. This is what I would do. I would put Dozier at first, Gutierrez at third. I think Gutierrez is a better defensive third baseman. I would DH O'Hearn. I would put Soler in right, Witt in left, and Gordon in center. You want to talk about lengthening your lineup. That gives you 8 bats in your lineup that are legitimate bats, and then you have Maldonado to round it out. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to go Hamilton in center, and Gordon's going to play left, Witt's going to play right, Soler's going to DH. Really, it's going to be Soler, Gutierrez, and O'Hearn. Between first, those 3 guys are going to be rotating, and they're going to be putting, and then throw Dozier in that mix as well. Dozier will be in the lineup every day. But between those 4 guys, there's 3 positions to man: first base, third base, DH. So Ned's going to probably use a combination of trying to get his guys as many at-bats as possible. The problem is that one guy is going to get fewer at-bats than Billy Hamilton, and Billy Hamilton's just not a great offensive player. The good thing about this is that Chris Owings is going to be on the bench. Honestly, Chris Owings, with Duda on the DL, the Royals don't have to make a decision on him. Chris Owings honestly might be released today, which honestly is not going to make anybody upset and should happen. This goes back to, Dayton Moore's philosophy on free agents. Look, Dayton Moore, I'm not going to say he got lucky in 2015. All of his free agents hit. And when I say hit, I mean they all worked out really well. And they paid dividends. I mean, Kendrys Morales was a steal, and Morales was such an upgrade at DH over Billy Butler. It's not to degrade Billy Butler. He was a better hitter than Billy Butler was. And the Royals had to make a move there, and they did. Alex Rios was an upgrade over Nori Aoki, even though Rios took him 5 months to get healthy. Rios was a contributor down the stretch. He played very well in September, and he hit very well in the playoffs. Dayton Moore, he hit on all of these, and the free agent pitchers, the Ryan Madsens, the Franklin Moraleses. He hit on all of these free agents that he signed. A lot of them, they were non-roster minor league deals coming out of spring training. His deals the past several years have been questionable at best. I don't know why he signed Lucas Duda the first time, let alone the second time. The deal for Chris Owings was a major, major head scratcher. Chris Owings had a horrible season last year, and the Royals go out and sign him to a one-year contract for $3 million. Look, the bottom line is that in baseball, it's the same as it is in fantasy sports or anything. You don't nickel and dime your way to a championship. The Royals, you say, well, that's what they did in 2015. No, they didn't. They had legitimate pieces around them. They filled in. If Chris Owings was the 25th man on the roster, that's all they needed him for. They just needed him, as a utility guy off the bench to maybe start once every 10 to 12 days, to come off get a pinch running thing late in the game or a defensive replacement. That would be his role, and he would probably excel in that role for the Royals. But when you ask him to start 23 of the first 30 games, and he has an OPS plus of 22, which is absolutely dreadful. I mean, me as a 40-year-old male could get up there and do an OPS plus of probably 10, which is absolutely pathetic. He's not that much better than someone out of shape like me who works a day job and sits at a desk all day. And I'm not being outrageous when I make that comment. He has been absolutely dreadful. And $3 million to spend on a guy like that, look, that's $3 million wasted. You might as well save that money and package something else and go get a pitcher or something. Because you can find league minimum talent in the minor leagues that can get you plus 22 OPS plus. I mean, you don't even want that level of production. The whole basis of that is to, compare what league average is. And league average would be, you could get by with a guy on the bench being at 80 or above. Ideally, you want him at 100. Anything over 100 is a legitimate contributing player. The higher you go, the better you are. But being 1/5 of a contributing player is just not going to cut it. So maybe the Royals will wise up. I don't know why I get my hopes up about these things. I know they're not going to release Chris Owings today, but we can only hope. Maybe they will. But the bottom of the line is that Nicky Lopez is up. Real quick here before I go into work, Nicky Lopez doesn't have a ton of power. A lot of the scouts think he will develop it over time. Probably never going to be a 20, 25 home run type power or anything. He may not even be Whit Merrifield in terms of power, but he does have good speed. He makes tremendous contact. He knows how to hit the baseball. And let me get this off here. He knows how to hit, and he knows how to not strike out. Nicky Lopez, and I think it was like 130 or 140 plate appearances so far in Omaha, he has struck out 5 times. I mean, the guy doesn't strike out. And that's something that is really missing in baseball today, where everything seems about either home runs, walks, or strikeouts. So Nicky Lopez is very exciting young player. He should be in the lineup tonight playing second base. I'm not going to expect a whole lot from him, but it is nice to see the next wave of players starting to come up. And, we've already seen that in Gutierrez, who's come up and hit pretty well. Now we're going to see it in Lopez. And now if they can only start getting rid of some of these, some of the dead weight, like getting rid of Maldonado. Let's bring Valoria back up here and just throw him in there. Look, you're not going to go to the playoffs this year. I don't understand why you're playing Maldonado. And they say, well, it's because they want to develop these young pitchers. Obviously, starting pitching has been the problem for the Royals, as they've kind of rectified their bullpen situation over the past couple of weeks. I don't see a lot of work there from Maldonado. Maybe I'm missing something, but anyway, Royals call up Lopez. We'll see what kind of corresponding roster move they make to release someone off the 40-man roster. But now that I think about it, it's going to have to be Duda, because the Royals have already made an active roster move by sending Jake Newberry down. So they're going to take someone off the 40-man roster who's not on the active roster. So it's got to be Lucas Duda. It's not going to be Chris Owens. Because if they release Chris Owens, they're going to have to make another move. They're going to have to call somebody else up. And they're not doing that. And otherwise, they would have already announced it. So, yeah, looks like it's going to be Lucas Duda, which is fine. I mean, Lucas Duda adds nothing to this team or to the future. He should never have been signed last year or this year. So, anyway, quick video. Thanks for watching. Go Royals.